exactly is it going to be paid for, and how much could it possibly cost the ordinary Mwananchi? And while we were talking about Mr. President, let's talk about digitization. Let's talk about the intelligent transport system and how it's going to be affected the common Mwananchi. Have stakeholders been engaged on these changes? What about the matatu industry? Have they been consulted about this, and how exactly are they going to come into these changes?
You have made a very valid point that how is this going to be paid? It's going to be paid for by the people of Kenya. So when I see people, come and destroy this property, people are mobilized, they come and destroy public property. They are destroying our property collectively. This is property that we have either paid for or we are going to pay for it. The facility we got from Spain to build this facility, to build this overpass, will be paid for by the people of Kenya. And it is the reason why I have told us as a people, we must do two fundamental things. We must be careful about what we borrow, how much we borrow, and what for. And I have said we need to do more in raising or mobilizing domestic revenue. Just imagine, we have built the whole housing fund using our own resources, Kenyan resources. We have not borrowed a single shilling. The skyline of Nairobi is changing. The skyline of every city in Kenya is changing. Markets are being built across Kenya. Children in our schools, in our universities, in our TVETs, will live in modern hostels. Why? Because we have mobilized resources at home, So it's going to be a combination of which money do we borrow, how much are we borrowing at, how long it's going to take us to pay, and much more importantly, which projects are we investing that money in. That is very significant. It is the reason why I have consistently, for the last 3 years, the international community know, everybody today in the world know that I have insisted that we must have a fairer international financial architecture. One that Kenya can borrow from the market the same way the US or Britain or Germany borrows from the international market. For a long time, developing countries, Kenya included, have been borrowing at 3, 4, 5 times more. And that is why I have carried the conversation to the international stage. I have carried the conversation to the G7. I was in the G7, and my discussion with them was absolutely clear. And we are not just discussing with others, we are also doing something ourselves. We are mobilizing our resources from the domestic market so that we stop borrowing and paying at high interest rates. But whatever we have to borrow, we are also negotiating. And that is why tomorrow evening, I will be hosting a dinner for a TD, Africa Trade Insurance Agency, which is the instrument that we use to de-risk some of the borrowing that we make, to make it cheaper. They are the ones who guarantee, so that instead of borrowing at 10%, you borrow at 6 or 7%. So these are some of the infrastructure that we are building, I have given a TD, tomorrow we are giving them a piece of land. They have been in Kenya for 30 years, but we are giving them a piece of land here in Upper Hill for them to build their headquarters, because they are not only de-risking Kenya, they are de-risking Africa. They are an African institution. So part of the reason why I have been traveling in the international community is because I am aware that there is something we can do to make sure that our development is funded cost effectively. Instead of paying interest of 10, 12%, we can pay interest of 6, 7, 8%. We can reduce our borrowing by 4 percentage points. It is the reason why I traveled to China twice, because we were negotiating about the term of our loan and the interest we were paying. It is the reason why, for example, we are moving some of our borrowing from one currency to another so that we can pay less. If you don't know what you are doing, you will do nothing about it. But if you know what you are doing, like the way I do something about it. And I don't travel as somebody who has nothing to do. And let me tell you, my dear sister, you know, everybody is busy, you know. If you think William Ruto is traveling to waste the time, do you think presidents of other countries have time to waste? That they are giving me time to discuss issues that are Kenyan. If it was an issue or that there was no benefit for us or for them, nobody will waste their time meeting you. I met the president of the EU. I met the speaker of the EU Parliament. I met the president of the EU Council because there is value in the relationship that exists between us and them. They are our largest market, and we were agreeing on how that market can be sustained going into the future. There was a challenge on the East African Protocol, which we needed to sort out together. I traveled to Belgium because they are the country that buys our coffee. The highest coffee is bought at the best price by Belgium. I traveled to Finland because the connection between us and Finland on matters to do with Nokia. Nokia is a Finnish company. How are we going to look at AI going forward? How is technology going to assist us going into the future? How are we going to build